Welcome to The Cellar. Welcome to another episode in my Horrible Fates series. Before we dive into today's story, I want to give a quick reminder. If you enjoy what I do here on the channel, please consider subscribing and turn the notifications on so that you never miss a new upload. You can also find my merch store and social media links, as well as the link to my audio-only podcast version of my episodes, all below in the description box of every one of my videos. With that said, let's not waste any more time and dive into today's story. Hockey is figure skating in a war zone. Author unknown. Top-tier athletes, strapped with razor-sharp blades on their feet, flying around on a sheet of ice at speeds upwards of 20 miles per hour or 32 kilometers per hour, throwing their bodies viciously into one another, all while holding sticks and shooting a small puck at speeds of up to 108.8 miles per hour or 175 kilometers per hour at a man standing within a net. That is the sport of hockey, one of the most fast-paced and physical sports on the planet, where men currently as small as 5'7" go up against giants as big as 6'8". To put it simply, hockey is a riveting, fast-paced thrill ride of a sport. In today's video, we are going to discuss the only player in NHL history to die as a direct result of the injuries suffered during a game. To be honest, it's pretty remarkable that there's only ever been one player. The NHL has been going since 1917, and in the early days, helmets and protective gear was all but non-existent. William John Masterton was born August 13, 1938, in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Winnipeg is the capital and largest city of the province of Manitoba in Canada. It is centered on the junction of the Red and Assiniboine rivers. Hockey is extremely popular in Canada and is considered a national pastime and part of the country's overall identity. Tons of children every year take to the sport. In 2022-23, there were 548,800 registered ice hockey players in all of Canada. Bill Masterton would grow up playing hockey. He played 2 seasons of junior hockey with the St. Boniface Canadiens in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League. Finishing his last season in juniors, Masterton would choose to attend the University of Denver, where he was offered a scholarship to play with the Denver Pioneers hockey program. Masterton played 3 seasons in Denver between 1958 and 1961, appearing in a total of 89 games, scoring 66 goals and 196 points at the time. When Masterton graduated, he was the Pioneers' all-time leading point scorer, and he would hold that record for 25 years. Masterton was a 2-time NCAA All-American and was twice named to the Western Collegiate Hockey Association's All-Star team. In 1960 and 61, Masterton, as the captain, led his team to 2 consecutive national championships. Masterton would graduate with an engineering degree, but his passion still lied in playing the sport of hockey. He would get his first chance in the big leagues when he signed a contract with the Montreal Canadiens in 1961. The Canadiens at the time were a very deep squad, so Masterton was left with little room to make the team. He would spend the next year in the Eastern Professional Hockey League before being promoted to the AHL. Following those couple seasons, Masterton made the decision to leave professional hockey. He wanted to return to the University of Denver to complete his master's degree, and soon Masterton settled in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where he found a job in contracts administration. Masterton and his wife soon adopted 2 children, and life was going well. But the itch to play hockey never faded away. Masterton would regain his amateur status in 1964 in order to play senior hockey in the United States Hockey League. Masterton soon became a naturalized American citizen, which allowed him to join the U.S. national team in 1966-67. Once again, Masterton served as a team captain and was considered the team's most valuable player. In 1967, the NHL went through an expansion. They currently had 6 teams, but that number would double to 12. One of the new clubs was the Minnesota North Stars. Ren Blair would be hired as the team's coach and general manager. He was very familiar with Masterton as he had scouted him prior. The GM soon purchased the playing rights of Masterton from the Montreal Canadiens, and soon Masterton signed a 2-year contract to play for Minnesota, becoming the first player ever signed by the new hockey club. Masterton would make his NHL debut at 29 years of age in the North Stars' inaugural game. In that game, Masterton scored the first goal in franchise history. This was a dream come true for Masterton, as he had always wanted a shot to play in the NHL, and now he had finally been given it. In 37 games, Masterton went on to score 4 goals and 12 points. He was living his dream, but what he and his family didn't know at the time was that the dream would soon divulge into a complete nightmare. It was January 13th, 1968. The Oakland Seals were in town to play the Minnesota North Stars at the Met Center. Masterton suited up in the locker room, ready to play in his 38th game in the NHL. Soon the puck was dropped and the game had begun. Around 4 minutes in, Masterton would have the puck. He carried it across the blue line and made a cut to the right. The Seals defensemen Larry Cahan and Ron Harris looked to close in on Masterton. As Masterton slipped a pass to his wing, one of the defenseman's sticks tangled with Masterton's skate. This caused Masterton to lose his balance, stumbling forward. What happened next happened so fast. As Masterton stumbled, he didn't see the other defender coming. Masterton was caught with a clean check that knocked him backwards. Masterton would fall back, smacking his head on the solid ice. A teammate of Masterton said it sounded like a baseball bat hitting a ball. At the time, not many hockey players wore helmets. Masterton himself did not wear one. Following the fall to the ice, Masterton lost consciousness and was not moving. Fans in attendance would become deathly silent as the team's trainer and doctor made their way out onto the ice. Masterton was soon placed on a stretcher and taken to an ambulance in waiting. He was rushed to the Fairview Southdale Hospital, roughly 7 miles or 11 kilometers away. A team of doctors at the hospital treated Masterton with steroids and diuretics, but the swelling in his brain was getting worse every moment. It was so severe that they decided against operating. Masterton's parents would fly in from Winnipeg after they heard about what had happened. Surrounded by his parents, brother, wife, and his 2 children, the painful decision was soon made to remove Masterton from life support. There simply wasn't anything else that could be done. Masterton would never regain consciousness, and at 1:55 a.m. on January 15, 1968, Masterton passed away at the young age of only 29. Masterton is the only player in NHL history to die as a direct result of an injury suffered on the ice. Ron Harris, the man who made the hit on Masterton, blamed himself for a long time. He stated, "It bothers you the rest of your life. It wasn't dirty, and it wasn't meant to happen that way. Still, it's very hard because I made the play. It's always there in the back of my mind." Masterton's family would hold no animosity towards the players involved or the game of hockey, as Masterton's wife Carol would refer to the incident as being a fluke, something that could have happened to anyone. Not many players wore helmets back in the 60s. To be honest, it was frowned upon by many players and teams. Now, I wish I could say that Masterton's death sparked major change throughout the NHL, but it didn't. What it did do was spark the conversation of change, and within a few years, 6 players on the North Stars were now wearing helmets, the most out of any NHL team at the time. It took the National Hockey League until 1979 to make helmets mandatory for players entering the league, but still, veteran players were left with the option of wearing one or not. Any player who entered the league after June 1st, 1979 was mandated to wear a helmet. Any player who signed his first pro contract before then could opt out if they signed a waiver. During the 1978-79 season, about 30% of NHLers didn't wear a helmet. Craig McTavish was actually the last player to play in the NHL without wearing a helmet. He played his final game during the 1996-97 season for the St. Louis Blues. Masterton's story highlights a man that wasn't a superstar in the sport. He was a quiet, family man who loved his wife and kids, a man who had to work hard to earn everything he got. And at 29 years of age, he finally was rewarded with his chance to play in the NHL. Since his passing, safety has grown leaps and bounds within the league. It's honestly pretty amazing looking back that no other players lost their life out on the ice. Now, due to the sport's physicality and lack of head protection and concussion protocols back in the day, other players would go on to suffer and lose their lives in other ways. What some may not realize is that even a helmet may not have saved Masterton's life. As what really needs to be highlighted in this story is concussions. For decades, the NHL and NFL had no real concussion protocols. Hockey players, known for being tough and gritty, would play through the headaches, dizziness, and blurred vision. If you could skate, you would tough it out and push through to play. Players such as Masterton learned how to consistently play hurt, because to put it simply, that's what real men would do. That was the code amongst players in the NHL, and it ultimately is the reason he lost his life. According to the Hennepin County Medical Examiner, evidence was found of a previous injury on the left side of Masterton's skull on the temporal region of the brain. The autopsy report shows there was a blow to the left temple in a game some days prior to the fatal injury, and the deceased is said to have complained of headaches in the left temporal region. When Masterton's head hit the ice, his brain swelled alarmingly quick. Many are convinced that Masterton had indeed suffered a concussion not long before his fatal fall to the ice. What Masterton ultimately suffered was known as second impact syndrome. Second impact syndrome is a condition in which an individual experiences a second head injury before completely recovering from a prior head injury. It is thought that athletes who sustained a concussion and returned to their sport early are at an exceptionally high risk. Masterton most likely already had swelling going on within his brain. When his head hit the ice, it just compounded things even more, causing him to never regain consciousness. The NHL wouldn't mandate any kind of concussion protocol in the sport until 1997, almost 30 years after Masterton's death. Luckily, in today's day and age, we are more aware of the dangers of concussions and head trauma. After Masterton's passing, the Bill Masterton Memorial Trophy was soon created. The award goes to the National Hockey League player who best exemplifies the quality of perseverance, sportsmanship, and dedication to ice hockey. As always, I want to send my condolences to all of Bill Masterton's family, friends, and teammates. May the memory and legacy of Bill Masterton continue to live on. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. If you enjoy the content, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel continue to grow. It's also very important that you hit the notification bell and turn on notifications, as you may not be alerted of my uploads if you don't do so. In the description box below, you'll find a link to my merch store and a link to the Cellar Dwellers membership tier for my channel. If you're interested, please take a moment to go check those things out. Also, if you'd like to submit your own scary story or any kind of story recommendation for the channel, you can do so using the email linked in the description box below. As always, I do all the research, writing, recording, and editing for the channel myself, so anything you do to support the channel is greatly appreciated. And until next time, I will see you all again as we head back into the cellar.